In the far north, there is one rule. Every child who grows up under the northern lights learns it before they can walk. Never whistle at them. Not the Inuit of Alaska, not the Sámi of Lapland, not the Cree of Canada. Peoples who never met, who spoke unrelated languages, separated by thousands of miles of ice, all landed on the same warning. Do not call to the lights, because something up there is listening. This is the case file on the most beautiful thing in the sky and the oldest fear in the north. To understand the fear, you have to understand what the lights meant to the people beneath them. To the Inuit, the aurora was the spirits of the dead, playing a game in the sky, kicking a ball made from a walrus skull. Beautiful, until you remember the dead don't always want to play alone. Whistle, they said, and you call their attention down. They sweep low, and they take your head. Far across the Arctic, in Sámi Lapland, the lights were also the dead, but here the fear was sharper. You did not whistle, you did not wave, you did not even speak of them by name. To be noticed by the aurora was to be taken by it. The Norse looked up and saw the Valkyrie, the warrior women who chose the slain, their armor flashing as they rode. The lights were the Bifrost, the burning bridge to Valhalla, the Hall of the Dead. The Finns had a gentler name, Revontule, foxfires. A great firefox racing across the tundra, its tail throwing sparks into the sky. The Cree saw the circle of life, the dead still close enough to speak to. The Estonians saw sleighs carrying guests to a wedding in the heavens. Different stories, opposite ends of the earth. But notice what keeps returning, the dead. A sky full of the dead, and almost everywhere the same instruction, don't draw their attention. For most of human history, that was the only explanation anyone had. Then we learned what the lights actually are. 93 million miles away, the sun is constantly bleeding. A stream of charged particles called the solar wind, racing outward at over 1 million miles an hour. When it reaches Earth, it slams into our magnetic field 50,000 kilometers above your head. In 1895, a Norwegian physicist named Christian Birkeland worked out what happened next and was mocked for it for decades. He was right. Near the poles, those particles funnel down the magnetic field lines and crash into the upper atmosphere. They strike oxygen, and it glows green and deep red. They strike nitrogen, and it burns blue and violet. The lights are not spirits. They are the sun, touching the top of our sky, about 60 miles up. 60 miles. Far too high, science said, for any of it to make a sound. And that, the sound, is where this story turns. For as long as people have watched the aurora, a few of them have insisted on something the textbooks called impossible. They said the lights make noise, a faint crackle, a hiss, a soft clap, like distant applause, moving with the lights overhead. Explorers wrote it down. Trappers swore by it. The Sámi and the Inuit built it into the warning. The lights answer. And every scientist who heard these accounts said the same thing. You cannot be hearing the aurora. It happens 60 miles up. Sound from that altitude could never reach the ground in time with the lights. It had to be imagination. Then, in 2016, a researcher named Unto Lane at Aalto University in Finland set up microphones under an active aurora and recorded it. Crackles, pops, faint claps, real measurable sound, happening at the exact moment the lights moved. Not 60 miles up, 70 meters, just overhead. Lane found that during a geomagnetic storm, the same energy lighting the sky discharges in a layer of cold air close to the ground. And that discharge snaps, like static, right above your head. The aurora can make sound. And it happens even when no lights are visible at all. Sit with that for a moment. For centuries, the people of the North said, do not whistle, do not call out, because the lights will hear you and answer. And for centuries, we called that superstition. They were describing something real. They had simply noticed, long before anyone could measure it, that when the sky catches fire, the air close to the ground begins to crackle and snap, as if something up there were responding. They were not imagining the dead, but they were not wrong about the sound. So the next time you stand under the aurora, somewhere in the far north, and the sky turns green and starts to move, and you hear it, that faint crackle just over your head. Remember the one rule every culture at the top of the world agreed on. Keep your breath held, don't whistle, because some part of the oldest fear in the north turned out to be true. The lights are listening. The far north is full of stories the world refused to believe, right up until the moment they turned out to be real. Subscribe to Vanish North and tell me which legend I should open the case file on next.